it's possibly that we are possibly live. Hello, everyone.
Hello. Welcome. How is everybody doing tonight? How are you doing tonight, Josh?
I'm good. It's been a good day. We had to cancel the evening stream try because Lavis had car trouble. He had like a tire pop or something on the road. So everybody sent some good vibes out for Lavis, man.
Damn,
He's been having some struggles lately, and dang, dude, that's the last thing a man needs is.
I know, busy at work, then a tire goes out. Jeez Louise.
Stupid as heck, but it is what it is. And but I had a pretty relaxing day. I've finally been getting back into the gym, which feels good. Feels good to finally get back in.
Getting those gains, bro.
Yeah, getting strong. It's like I'm definitely not gonna be ready to have a beach body, but I'll at least have some more endorphins going through my blood.
That's what Facetune is for. Aren't you trying to be like an Instagram thought now?
I am trying to be a TikTok thought.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
A TikTok thought.
Excuse me. Mm-hmm. Just gotta like zoom it out,
Is that,
filters?
Yeah. No, I'm gonna need some fucking filters. That's for sure. We're gonna figure it out. Whatever we need to do with the silly TikToks. But yeah, let's start with just the basic question of when it comes to Loki and when it comes to Kang the Conqueror.
Okay.
Am I like I want to love again? You know what I mean? Like I want to believe again. But dang, did that boner set me back, and I guess even we're going to get into the new story. Jonathan Majors, another report saying yes, he is going to be in it, he is going to be Kang, and some stuff even beyond that. But I'm still like shell shocked or whatever. Am I setting myself up for a boner 2.0, and what do you think I should do about it?
So are you saying that you don't want any guest appearances, or you just don't want Kang? What's the gripe list?
No. I want Kang. I want it all. But what I'm saying is, like, when it came to WandaVision, right? I was like, oh, Doc Strange. Like, we're going to get Doc Strange. Or with the boner with Ralph, I was like, dude, it's Quicksilver Multiverse. This is crazy.
Yeah.
And, when it came to Falcon the Winter Soldier, it was like Old Man Cap or something crazy like that, right? The rumor with this one is Kang. And I'm just like, man, like, is this another one of those things that, like, we're all expecting? And there were reports, frankly, of Doctor Strange. They cut him out because he was a white dude or whatever. I don't know what the fucking reason was.
Yeah, that was kind of weird. I got some thoughts about that too.
So it's a little weird. So I guess what I'm saying is, like, am I being foolish if I get too excited? Like, if I start getting like hyped about Kang, am I being foolish?
No, I think you can get hype, but just got to temper those expectations. Sweet tweet Josh, I know it's hard for you. Every guy's putting the Josh angry emoji in the chat, but man, although I do feel like at this point, if they don't start actually like revealing some shit and putting some cameos, it's like, what are you doing?
Yeah,
you wouldn't like. They're not gonna. They released the trailer, they said it. They're like, guys, we're back. Don't forget about us. Remember us? We do cool shit. We're super badass. There's so many things coming. So at this point, I feel like it seems like they have finally figured out what they want to do, what their schedule is. They're comfortable with it. They want to talk about it publicly. So if they don't start putting some real shit and real cameos in it, then it's like...
Yeah, so we're kind of on the page that like it's okay for me to start to get excited about this Kang thing. Then it's not too
well, I mean, to me, honestly, like I'm a little more excited for Kang the Conqueror and Loki than I am in Ant-Man, because to me it just makes more sense, right? Because like Kang's up is that he's a time traveler, but now everybody can do it, so it's like not that cool for him. But when he does discover it, right, and he's just kind of like, fucking around all over the timeline, it's like the whole point of Loki is preserving that sacred timeline, so it would be a logical antagonist to have someone just like bloop, 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 just like disrupting it as they're trying to fix it. So that to me makes more sense than it would be for Ant-Man. But I also think that it's like a personal problem, and I just like, because I don't really the Ant-Man movies are like super okay. They're kind of like throwaway movies for me in the MCU. So I think I might just be like projecting onto that movie that doesn't even exist and that I know nothing about. And so if you're gonna bring like this big baddie in, it's like, do I want an Ant-Man? But maybe that's what Ant-Man needs. Needs a big baddie to spice it up.
Yeah, so that's kind of the thing too, is that in the new report that came out today, they do sort of draw the conclusion that he won't only be in Loki, but he will be in Ant-Man 3 as well. And yeah, you're right. It's a little, I can see your issues with him being in Ant-Man and the Wasp, and you're certainly right. Like the time travel thing, and Kang being a master of time travel, and also meeting different versions of himself throughout time in the history of comics. It's a really cool aspect of his character. It seems like they're doing something like that with Loki too, because there's rumors of female Loki. I don't know if you saw the most recent trailer, but like, that the homie that gets blasted, I think that's another Loki too. Like a version of him.
That's a really fun version of Kang. So that's what I love. I think there's like a lot of potential with Kang, because there are, since he goes bouncing around the timeline so much, they're just different identities and they're all different. They have like different ideals and goals and ethics. And so the fact, like the idea of having an antagonist that's always changing, that they think they know, and then when he shows up next time, they're like, oh shit, Kang, and he's like a different Kang. But I also, weirdly, because of like the quantum stuff, I think like I do feel like the Immortus stuff that he does, where he's like teaming up with the Avengers to fight like the younger version of himself fights the future self. God damn it. I'm about to get real weird. It fights his future self.
Yeah.
That could work for Ant-Man. But I don't know. I think it's just like there's a lot of its potential, and he's like to make him a big baddie. And I just don't want to see him like wasted in like an Ant-Man movie that's just like okay again.
Right. So here's just sort of spinning off of that thought. I guess one of my concerns would be that at first the indication was one of the reasons we would get Doctor Strange in WandaVision was because it's tying into that movie, right? Mm-hmm. So, similar things seem to be going on with even maybe Old Man Steve. But then plans change, and so they yank Doctor Strange out. Now, those movies are way further apart now. So the fact that he's going to be an Ant-Man, and he reportedly will show up in Loki, it's kind of making me think maybe we should curb our expectations for like a small appearance in Loki, even though it would make more sense, and then using him more creatively in Ant-Man and the Wasp 3, because like Quantum Mania sort of implies that a continuation of time travel and perhaps universe hopping, because it is through the quantum realm that the Avengers go back in time to even, do the endgame time heist situation, right? Yeah. So I don't know.
Well, I also think, we still don't know for sure who's going to be the big baddie of Phase 4. And if it is him, like it would be the best way to start plopping him into every single project, putting him a little bit here, putting him a little bit there. So he's like touching every story and has his hand in so many different threads. So when they do come to a big conclusion, he's been there the whole time. So if they do that, I'm down. I'm super down for that, because he's a lot of fun, and he ties into so many. It kind of feels like he's going to be the big baddie just because of so many potential ties. And if he's not the big baddie, he's just going to be a long-standing baddie, because like he used to be a pharaoh, and so that could tie into
he's so useful in like the things that they could do. So it really does seem that he would play a significant role. They have so many other big villains that are going to come in, though, right? So you've got
I'm like, who's it gonna be? Who's it gonna be?
Well, there's also the possibility of them doing like the Cabal and having like all of that figured out as well. Yeah. But you think about Kang, and you think about Doctor Doom. You know what I mean? You think about Namor, you think about Magneto. You've got some of the craziest heavy hitters.
Or even if they're plans for Norman Osborn, like these like long-standing multi-team, several thread villains. Like, I know, it's like exciting.
It is.
Because I love villains. It's like usually when there's a good villain in a movie, like something dark inside of me is like yes.
Indeed.
But Marvel has another best track record with villains, True. Not gonna lie. Like I would say at this point it's probably about like 50-50, maybe a little less than that. Like they've had a few really good ones, but for the most part Marvel's villains are not their strength. So I don't know. I also just don't want to see this washed out in a kind of Dormammu way in the first Doctor Strange movie, where it's just like, it's Dormammu. He's this like big, crazy, powerful. And then you're like, was he that? Like, it didn't feel as big as they were saying it was.
True. Yeah. Do you think that that's sort of a fear of yours with Kang, is like him just sort of not being as dope as he can be and sort of being sidelined?
Yes. I'd rather see super creative small stuff than trying to make him like the big bad of Ant-Man and it just kind of being a throwaway.
Yeah. I'm really interested. I don't know exactly what to expect. I mean, you're totally spot on as far as him it making more sense for him to be in Loki. I guess I'm just confused because if he is going to be in Ant-Man 3, I just don't see why or how they would make him like a small part of the movie. You know what I
No,
mean?
he it sounds from what the like reports say that he is the main antagonist.
Yeah.
And I hope it's better, you know,
Yeah.
but like, you know, first Ant-Man was like here, and then like second Ant-Man was like here. So I'm like third Ant-Man. I don't know.
Yeah,
I
true.
guess Thor did that. Thor made its comeback with
Yeah,
Thor
that's a great point.
Ragnarok. So maybe there is hope. Maybe I need to just stop being so bitter and just let it happen to me. I don't know.
Well, yeah, you know, I don't know, man. I feel like even shell shocked getting excited about Loki, and Kang is so cool, and I just
for sure.
it's one of those things. And by the way, do you know any of Jonathan Major's work at all? Have you seen him in the HBO
He was in
show or whatever?
Lovecraft County Country. I watched a few episodes of that and I couldn't get super into it. I'm honestly not really into horror.
Yeah, I'm not either. I didn't finish the show, but I thought his performance was great. Actually, he had like I think he's a really strong actor. He did some stuff, you know, non-verbally that I thought was pretty incredible in a few scenes, and I was kind of looking for that. I wasn't really watching the show for anything else, really. I was like, "How's our Kang boy looking?" You know, and he looked good to me, so I'm all the more excited that he'll be in it. I wonder, do you think that there's because
a good actor's not enough, Josh.
a good actor's not enough. I know.
We all saw Age of Apocalypse, dude. A good actor's not enough.
I know. You're
Poor Oscar Isaac.
I know, right?
Poor guy. He got done so dirty, and then he's going to go back for Moon Knight. He's like, one more time. One more time for Egypt for the cheap seats in the back.
You know, honestly, he looks like he's taking it so seriously. Oh my God, my hair's
because he takes everything seriously because he's amazing. He's an amazing actor. He's like probably one of the best actors of our generation. The fact that he's going to be Duke Leto and Dune is so motherfucking excited to me.
Yeah.
And it's just funny to me that he went from like Age of Apocalypse, which is like an ancient mutant, to like from Egypt. And now he's like at that again, but Moon Knight.
I know. Yeah. I'm excited to see his Moon Knight. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I guess for me, again, you know, just not to continue to harp on that boner, but
God, you'll never get over it, Josh.
Well, here's the thing. If it's Kang and he's meaningful to the story, like I guess okay, in the same way that when we were watching WandaVision, it made sense that Mephisto or some other nefarious thing would be out there or something multiverse, right? Yeah. Like a lot of these threads, it wasn't just that they were being teased. I refuse to think it was just fanboys being fanboys. There were legitimate reasons to feel this way. When it comes to Kang, all signs would make sense. It would make all the sense in the world if he was somehow involved in what was actually going on with the timeline, or if he's somehow the time masters or connected to it and is revealed. I'm okay with him not being this really heavy duty part of the Loki show. As long as he's involved and perhaps connected to it and like, oh shit, it was Kang the whole time or something, you know? So
just for me personally, Kang seems like he'll be way more interesting than like Chthon or Mephisto. There's just like a lot more that you can do with the character that's ever changing all over the place and in everyone's motherfucking business and has like different identities and other than just like the eldest evil being in the universe. It's
that's true.
We know. Yeah. So it's like, and that's why I'm excited for that. And I'm also excited to see what they do with Moon Knight because there's like potential in that too, to really just take a story and push it to, because Moon Knight never really got his due either, right? It's like he's had like a million different series that have gone like this far, and so but there is potential there to tell like a super interesting story. So I love to see it. I want to see it.
I agree. I think I'm interested to see how dark they go with Moon Knight, you know, and
Dude,
I think there's an opportunity there to push that limit a little bit, and then when it comes to the possibility of Moon Knight showing up in Midnight Suns, you know, or hanging out with Blade, like I really think Marvel needs to start to diverge and have that more adult, you know, R-rated graphic content. I really
if they don't go super dark for Moon Knight, I think it's going to be a really missed opportunity because like that's what's kind of the most interesting thing about him. Because other than that, he's just like another crime fighting guy with gadgets. I know people like to compare him to Batman. I don't really think he's like so much like Batman. Like I see the similarities, maybe like looks wise, but like who he is as a character, I think there's like a totally different direction in that. But if they just go like superhero, it's like, come on, like it'll be like, why even do it, dude? Like if you're not going to go super weird, super dark, or super just breaking apart the character in a way that hasn't honestly probably haven't even gotten the opportunity to do in the comics, and I think it's going to be a big old waste.
I agree.
And if Oscar Isaac gets wasted again,
I know, right? He's gonna freak out, dude. He's gonna freak out. No, it's
how many nerdy things do I have to be in to get my due? God damn it!
I know.
The sequel trilogy, Age of.
I know. Well, I feel like this is the one for him, though. I mean, I would hope so, man. It really does seem like there's a lot of hype around it. The character, despite being sort of a lesser known character, there's a lot of hype around that character. When that announcement was made, Moon Knight was trending and shit. And that's funny because like I was like, y'all never read a goddamn Moon Knight comic in your life. Trust me, because they all got canceled. But I'm down. You know what I mean? Like I'm down, and I think it's great that he's gonna get this new lease on life and this new buzz. And Oscar Isaac could play that character for a long, long time, man. And
for sure,
it'd be really fun to see him cut it up with some of the big other personalities in the MCU. I'd be
who are the anti-heroes in the MCU right now? Rocket.
Yeah, I guess Star-Lord, depending on how you think of it.
Not really.
Yeah, I mean he's kind of plucky.
Is that him? Like other than the Netflix shows, I'm talking about like in the like movies. Like, is there any like anti-heroes in the movie?
Man, I'm trying to think. I mean,
I'm like, I don't know what there is. So it's like Moon Knight.
Said Wanda.
I guess they are like now they're trying to build her up to be, but it's like Moon Knight. The spot's open, bro.
Moon Knight's perfect for it.
MCU needs an anti-hero, dude. You want to step up and put on the fucking Heisenberg hat and like go full throttle? Like I think should, because I think they need a little bit of that antagonist energy into the MCU. And I think with doing a anti-hero, maybe villain storyline for him, they could really hard lean into his character development, and they wouldn't have to focus on like the villain as much, which I think sometimes is where they fall short. Because I think, with Midnight Suns and Moon Knight and Blade and all stuff, they're really going to start getting into that monster territory, which honestly might be good for Marvel, since they are the best with villains. Just like it's a vampire, bro. It's a werewolf.
I agree.
They can just focus on the main character and their development. They can just like give them these cheap ass like monsters of the week, and I think it might work for them, actually.
Yeah, it could be fun. Mr. Anderson said Bucky's an anti-hero. Kind of not anymore, but he certainly was.
Oh, okay, yeah. All right, Bucky.
Bucky
Wanda,
was one.
Rocket.
Yeah. Rocket, yeah. Yeah, that's kind of it. I mean,
yeah.
I'm still going to throw my hat in the ring for Star-Lord. He's still kind of anti-hero-ish.
Yeah.
Because he's kind of scummy at the beginning.
But now I'm thinking, like, you're talking about, like, anti-hero stories, like, with Daredevil and Jessica Jones, for instance. It really was, like, though they were, like, really character-driven anti-hero stories, it was kind of the antagonistic nature of their villains that really, like, made that
drove
shit
the show,
soar.
Agreed.
Took it to the next level.
Especially with Jessica Jones. I mean, that performance that he turned in for Kilgrave is like all time great. It's absolutely fantastic stuff. But
so I'm like,
can they do it? I don't know. I'm excited to check that out for sure. And I think that Marvel in general, I think the main thing with the Loki show that most people, Marvel fans, I think, are at a place where they're like, they want to see that really special, that extra spark, that MCU magic that, we always talk about. Because even the people that I think liked the two shows thus far, I mean, they have to admit that like it wasn't as mind-blowing and universally accepted as the other stuff. And part of the fun with Marvel is like when the movie comes out and it's killing it, everybody's pumped and just thinks like, oh, this is awesome, and that universal feeling is a part of the camaraderie for it. It would be great if Loki just blows us out of the water, you know what I mean? And just takes it to another level. Some of these new TV spots with him and Owen Wilson, like, dude, they are just cutting up these scenes. I think it's fan-freaking-tastic. And
I really think Loki's going to be the one that like saves it all, and like good for Marvel. I was actually thinking about this. I was like watching a stream where you're talking about like the Warner Brothers merger and all that jazz, and it's just like Marvel really does like at the very least is doing content, right? So it's like even though WandaVision and like Falcon and Winter Soldier both kind of like middled out, it's like they're already forgotten. Like it's already like it's just like they're just moving right along, and it's like that's what they've always done, right? It's like Ant-Man didn't do as well. Captain Marvel didn't do as well. They're like, forget, here's the next movie. Like, we got it for you. And and now that they've done that big old trailer where they're telling us about everything that's going to come out, we know that like everything that's maybe not good is probably just going to be like instantly supplemented by the very next thing that comes out like 5 seconds later.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, that's a very fair point, and I think that that's part of the formula for success. Because even if you look even at the MCU, there was some moments in Phase 2 that were shaky, and there were some not so great movies, and then they just kind of get forgotten. I mean, think about even Captain Marvel. Like Captain Marvel was totally a thing. People totally talked about it. A lot of people talked crap on it. It still made $1 billion, and then everybody
$1 billion.
Yeah, I believe so. I believe it made $1 billion, and then it made and then everybody went into Endgame. Endgame was the biggest movie of all time. So it's like they didn't really miss.
They didn't take a loss at all. They were like, it was still a huge success, even though like objectively wasn't a good movie. Like,
exactly. So it's, I don't know. They're in a crazy spot. I mean, if you think about even some of the numbers that they're talking about with Loki, or rather with Falcon and Winter Soldier and WandaVision, they're claiming all these things of like the #1 show. There's of course, there's like nothing out there, right?
Yeah.
But
best
still,
fight, and you're like, what?
I know, right? Oh God, that was so painful to see.
Compared to what?
Exactly. I know it's sad, but I guess that does kind of speak to the fact that like, they did put the content out there. It did crush. It did sustain, some subscriber based numbers.
Yeah.
Once they get out of this sort of weird area of, the pandemic stuff and some of the delays, I mean, it's going to be pretty impressive to just sit back and watch all of this content, just continue to pour out. It's a lot. It's a lot coming. That's for sure.
Okay, I have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
You know how like Feige's been like really leaning into those like public statements about like progressive ideals at Marvel, like how he said that like he didn't want to do Doctor Strange, he didn't want like a white guy saving the day, and like he, openly admitted that whitewashing the Ancient Ones probably wasn't a great idea. It's like, do you feel like that is indicative of a more tactful interpretation of like progressive ideals going forward, or if it's going to feel more Captain Marvel-y? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's hard to say.
Like,
I mean,
I'm a lady. It was just like, kind of offended me.
It's for sure. It's kind of hard to say. I think that for many folks out there, they're concerned, and there's like all these memes and stuff about like calling it the MCU and stuff like that, and just saying that it's going like in this totally woke direction, or like, gonna put. I think what it really comes down to is if the messaging and all of that, stuff becomes more prevalent than like the content and the stories, it's going to piss everybody off. And that's what I think a lot of people are afraid of. But the truth is, I think Feige has always been this way. And and it's interesting because he wanted to make the Black Panther movie and Shang-Chi like a long time ago, but there were a lot of executives and different people that stood in his way. Right. So I think he's always been this way, but I hope, and I think what I really am just kind of hoping for as a fan is that he understands that the content itself needs to be fire, and also he needs to hit all 4 quadrants. Like he needs to give toys to all of the people in the room. Like, and if you look at like, and there's reason to believe that he does realize this. Like if you look at Captain Marvel going into the Marvels, those 2 directors are not coming back, yo. You know what I mean? Like when have you ever seen that? When have you ever seen a $1 billion movie get a sequel and the directors don't return? That's because Feige knew. He was like, look, shit wasn't hot enough. You know what I mean? Like shit wasn't hot enough. So he'll press and he'll push and he'll say, the boilerplate, wokeism, I think often in different interviews, but I think he's a smart enough producer to not fall trap to like some of those mistakes that I think other producers can make, where they get so caught up in doing or representing the right thing that they lose track that of like don't sniff your own farts too much. Like at the end of the day, you're a commercial art. You make art for people that spend money on your shit. So like you're not PBS, you know what I mean? Like, and you're not a public entity that's trying to make political messaging. You're a corporation, you know what I mean? And so like let's back it up a little bit. I guess that's the best way that I can answer it. Am I concerned?
I totally agree. I actually totally agree. I think when the Doctor Strange comment came out about how he was like, we don't want like a white man saving the day, I was a little worried because I was like, God, that seems like just like a little obtuse, you know, just like a little, just like, really, you don't want just like any white man to save the day. Like you can't just like write in like
it's really
story.
Reductive.
Yeah. But then when he came out with like the Shang-Chi comments about like the, you know, the ancient one where he was talking about how like, you know, they were like, oh, well, we didn't want to make like a parody of like an Asian character, right? And then now I'm like realizing that, oh, you can just like not make a parody of an Asian character and have an Asian character. I feel like an idiot, and I'm kind of embarrassed. Then I was like, oh shit, like, hold on a second. And it made me really happy actually when I read that because I'm like, first of all, you know, Star Wars, WB, like take note, right? Like publicly talk about it, right? Like he's like not afraid to say like, yeah, you know, not a good look.
Yeah, I agree with you, and
not
I think
a good look.
And it is commendable that he came out and said that. My only concern, I guess, is that, and I sort of touched on it on my video, is that like ultimately he is still towing the company line. And I didn't fully get the impression, and I hope the closer we get to Shang-Chi in particular and Eternals, that I get some strong indications from Feige that he is standing with his people and his talent. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because if you read the article, there still feels like there's a little bit of placating to China, where he's like, he has one step in both worlds, in North America and China. It's like, bro, he probably gonna have 0 feet in China because they ain't gonna accept this movie. So like, stop. For me personally, it feels a little bit still like double speak when he says it, but at the same time, I acknowledge that is a tricky situation, that like if he's got bosses and he has to say things in a certain way, I totally get that. I think it's cool that he came out and said they made a mistake, but frankly, like by that logic, like I just don't see how Shang-Chi isn't also a mistake. That's literally what people in China are kind of saying, is like, bro, how you gonna make the first Asian superhero a kung fu motherfucker? Like that is racist, or at the very least, it's a little tone deaf, right? So that's what they're saying.
I don't know if I like 100% agree with that though, because then it's just like, how can you want them to like pay homage to like Chinese culture and Chinese traditions, and like that is a part of it, but then if you do it, it's a caricature of it. So it's just like, where?
Yeah, no, I agree. Look, it's a tough line to walk, right? Because look at what happened with Danny Rand, right? You had Danny Rand, who was a white guy who learned kung fu, and then they cried like white savior, right? And like the whole white savior trope, and that's bad, etc., etc. Look, I just think that like at the end of the day, it's weird to say like, oh, well, we knew, like, we're doing literally a movie called Shang-Chi. Like, it feels like the most sort of Asian reduction that you can do, right? But we made it not ridiculous and racist and or not racist. That's the wrong way to say it. It's but racial, and it's
Black
like
Panther was like a celebration of African culture.
Yes, it was, but it was done sort of out of taste and by those people sort of creating a fictional world that took from African culture, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. And I think you can always sort of make that argument of like, well, I mean, technically Black Panther was created by a white guy, right? It was created by Stan Lee. And like, what does that mean? And what is that? Like, is there like problems there? The further you look into this stuff to me, the more like your head starts to spin a little bit, right?
I know. I feel like the hate on Shang-Chi is like pretty unfounded because like, we don't even know, dude. Like, we don't even know yet if it's like a caricature or like a misrepresentation, right? And like, I don't know if just like having a Chinese character doing kung fu is like racist. Like that just doesn't mean it's like, isn't it kung fu from China? And they're like, yeah, but like it's like a caricature of race. And then it's like, if he didn't do kung fu, they'd be like, they're just whitewashing him and making this Asian man a white man. So it's like, all right, guys. So it's like,
in some way, well, that's the thing. Like, in some ways, I agree with you, but like, that's why some of this stuff feels like double speak to me, because I don't think they actually have a foundational. Like, what I'm saying is, like, some of the things that he's saying about it almost make me think, well, then why the fuck did you make Shang-Chi? You know what I mean? Like, when he says this kind of stuff, like, oh, well, we wanted to do this thing in a way. Well, first of all, one of the things that kind of bugs me about it is that I had heard that the big reason they changed the Ancient One is because the Ancient One was a Tibetan monk, and China doesn't think Tibet exists. And so
I hate that.
For Feige, I know, right? So for Feige, and I'm
that.
not trying to be that guy, but like for Feige to be like, we changed it because we thought it would be, out of touch
so
or whatever.
It's like full
And
on
I'm
bullshit. Like,
I don't know if it's full on bullshit or if that's what he's being told or whatever, but it just like, it doesn't ring like honest enough, right? Like, it just doesn't ring honest enough. Like,
but then,
how can you say like, oh, we want to switch this thing, but we really want him to live 1 foot in North America and 1 foot in China? It's like, really?
Well, unfortunately, I feel like that's why Kevin Feige's the master, right? The master of PR, presenting the front that looks good, but doing what he has to do behind the scenes.
I know, he is that. He is that.
I don't know. I just feel like because then there are those stories, right, where they're like, we are now like denying stories that aren't diverse enough, right? It's like, we will deny any story that doesn't meet our diversity standards. And while that seems extreme, and I don't know if I like 100% agree with that, at the same time, when you're as powerful as Marvel, like at this moment, it's hard to say what is a more powerful media cultural presence than Marvel, like in terms of recognition and influence and all that jazz. And if they're putting a hard line on like diversity and representation, it's like, maybe that's what needs to happen to kind of normalize this shit. So Marvel doesn't have to do this. So Marvel doesn't have to put this hard, strict line that feels kind of reductive and restrictive. And for the future, it can just be a little it can just be what it is, instead of them having to be like, please do it this way, because if they don't, then other people won't.
I just feel like I'm totally with you, but like, there's a way, like, okay, so several years ago there was a story of a black player in the NBA got very angry, or rather tweeted disrespectfully at Jeremy Lin, because Jeremy Lin had dreadlocks. Okay. And they said like this was cultural appropriation or something like that. And Jeremy just like really respectfully pointed out that like, this black dude has Asian tattoos. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, shut your fucking mouth. Like,
it's like a really funny conundrum,
bro.
Like it's just like the Spider-Man meme of like cultural appropriation. They're just like, but you did the
right. Agreed. But that's the thing, is like, why are we have to like
I'm not over it yet. That is the most ridiculous fucking story ever in my life.
It was pretty wild. But I think the main point, and like my takeaway from it was like, you really don't have to like try to act holier than thou, or you don't have to act like you're trying to police people or go after people. I think at the end of the day, like, if people think it's fine, there should be more people speaking up that it's fine, or not having a big problem with whatever thing. It seems like these studios are placating to a site, like this group of people that isn't even like real.
But what I'm saying is, like, the point I was making is like, is it Marvel's duty to be this hardcore about it? Because if they do it, they make it the norm, and then other companies don't have to do this. Right? Because like, they're the leader in this space. So if they're creating like a representative, like diverse culture, then other people have to fall in line. And like,
no, I get it. And it's a weird thing, because I think it's, for me, there's so much nuance here, because on the one hand, I'm like, dude, I just kind of hate it, because it feels so pandery, because like
I mean, it is though.
But
it's like, is it pandery for the right reason? It's like hard to say. Like,
it's hard to say, because if it's like, are you doing it because you think it's the right thing to do, and therefore it feels like some kind of handout to other groups of people, which still feels really like elitist and gross? or like, is it just that time? You know what I mean? Like, and are we actually pushing for it? I think the truth is, and this is why I try to explain to people, I know like in the culture war, people get so triggered on either side, but I think it's like, even like conservative people should probably like ease up a little bit, because it's like, how is progress supposed to be made at all if we don't get out there and push some of these things? And like, you know, I don't think it's really affecting people as much as they're getting butthurt about like what they think is going on in the culture war. So it's like, on one level, you do have to let these things just happen, and people sort of push these new lines out there, or let their voices be heard, or argue for representation. I think you absolutely have to let those things happen. But I also think that it's totally fair that there's this side, and not always just on the right, but just in general, that's like, dude, some of this shit's like exhausting, man. You know what I mean? And it's like,
no, why for sure. Like, I don't know. Oh, sorry to interrupt. Go on.
No, it's cool.
I totally agree. Like, especially when it is such like a hard line that it's like, it has to be this way. That's when it feels like a little disingenuous and a little performative to me personally. But also at the same time, like, if they're not this strict about it, it's like, yes, like, because it breaks my heart to think of a good story being turned away just because of like diversity, but at the same time, like, representation is important, dude. Like, Fortune Feimster has a great bit about it in her comedy special, where she talks about how she like literally didn't even know she was a lesbian, because she just like grew up in an area that like didn't have anything that she could be exposed to, and then she watched the L Word, and then she was like, holy shit, this is what. And she watched in her like late 20s, and she was like, what? Like, totally flabbergasted. And like, that's when she came out. And like, I mean, even for me personally, right, like, you know, before I moved to San Francisco in 2010, right, like, even though I had gay friends in my hometown, I was still saying like, that's gay, and like fag, and like, you know, totally just like didn't even think anything of it. And then I moved to San Francisco and like was around people that was like, that actually genuinely hurts my feelings. And I was just like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And then I stopped saying it, because it's like, of course, when you get exposed to it, then you're like, I'm sorry. Like, no, most people aren't dicks, right? Most people aren't unreasonable. Once they're exposed to it, it changed their mind. So it's like, that's when you're like, fuck, dude, like, Marvel kind of, do they have a duty? And like, and to what point and at what cost to make sure that they like affect the change that they want to see?
Yeah. I mean, I think they certainly have a duty, and I think as a company, Disney has a duty as well. But they ultimately, like, I guess what it comes down to for me is that the stories still need to come from an organic place and be character driven. Because if it's like, if you take away the thing itself that everybody wants to be represented in, like, I don't think when people think of representation, they're thinking of like shitty movies or shitty shows they watch, right? Or shitty books.
When it's representation first, like, it's just
they're thinking of like Aragon or fucking Luke Skywalker or some shit, right? They're like, yo, like that hero, and then you start to like list them out, and you're like, yo, there are a lot of white dudes in these heroes. You know what I mean? And then all of a sudden you're like, yeah, no, maybe it would be good to have some people in one of these things. I think what we forget is you can't skip all the hard work of making any character, which I don't care what the race, creed, or color of a character is. It is fucking difficult to make a good character. That's why good writers and Hollywood writers should get paid what they get paid. That's why good directors and people like Feige get paid what they get paid, because it's fucking hard to take a fictional character and get real human beings to give a shit about it. So just because you want the outcome of whatever, you know, creed, color, sex, or whatever person being one of those heroic figures, you don't get to skip all the hard work that put Aragon up there, that put Luke Skywalker up there. You're talking about people that poured their souls into shit. And of course it's out there. There's great shit out there. And there's already Black excellence. There's already Asian excellence. You know what I mean? And I think partially what Feige looks to do is grab some of that and elevate it. That's what he did with Coogler. It looks to be what he did with Chloe Zhao. And, you know, we can hope that that's the focus, hopefully, if that's the focus, you know.
I feel like the problem is, though, like, for the world to accept change, right? Like, if they were to put like an Asian man in a romantic lead, right? Just plop him in there, and like people just wouldn't watch it. And that's the goddamn truth. So it's like if
Well,
they
they
don't
wouldn't watch
do
it just for the sake of him being an Asian person, though.
yeah,
That's
like
that's
but
I
that's
mean,
what
how
I
are you
mean,
gonna
like, if
market
they
that?
don't do these, like, kind of very on the nose, like, racially, like not racially charged sounds bad, but it's like Black Panther, Shang-Chi, see, Asian people and Black people are okay, it's alright. We
Right.
could, like they have to do these, like, super kind of, like, specific to their race things to make people relax. And like, because like literally, it felt like until Crazy Rich Asians, people were not willing to accept Asian men as like romantic leads, and it's fucking bullshit. Like, it is such bullshit. And
Yeah.
so it's like, it's kind of sucks that they have to do it that way, but it also kind of seems like it's the only way that makes people like
Yeah, it's fair. I
take
mean,
it. I don't know.
and
Like,
also too, I think we do. I like to keep it in context too, and just remember that like it's
yeah,
Hollywood, man. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
they're not doing everything right. They're not always going to do it right, and we're going to look
for
back in 20
sure.
years and be like, holy shit. You know what I mean? Like, yo, we were just watching Rocky the other night. You know what I mean? And like, yo, I love Rocky, but I'm sorry, it's a little rapey when he takes
I,
Adrian home the first time.
I've
Like it
never
is.
seen it, and someone said that exact same thing. They're like, it doesn't hold up, bro. They're like, it
No,
does
it's a
not hold
little
up.
awkward in that movie. You're like, ooh, and then she like wants to go, and he like has his arms like around her and shit, and you're like,
Yeah.
you know. And then like we
Yeah.
watched recently,
Every 80s movie where they're like,
well, Breakfast at Tiffany's, right? Incredible movie.
oh
You
my God.
literally
I
have.
cannot believe you brought that up. It is
Do you know what I'm
literally
saying?
one of my favorite classic movies all time, with the hands down most
Worst racist.
offensive,
I know.
like
It's
most
so bad.
offensive racist character.
It's so
And
bad.
like in between those scenes is like a fucking masterpiece, like beautiful. Like, I love Breakfast at Tiffany, and I can just see the boardroom of like suits that were like, it's too serious and we need a little comedic relief in it. And you know what's hilarious? Japanese men. They're fucking hilarious. Why don't we just put some racial jokes in there? And then it's just like, because it, like the racial moments in it don't fit. Like the whole movie's on this like total
it
beautiful
feels
narrative
really weird.
path, and they'll just stop for Mickey Rooney to say like be the most offensive. Like,
I know, dude. It's so wild, but it's like on the one hand,
it
you know,
cracks
I
me
think
up.
we shouldn't put Hollywood on this sort of pedestal, right? It's like
Yeah.
even people are a little bit of sort of hypocrites when they say like, you know, because I hear a lot of this like, oh, screw Hollywood, or like, you know, they'll not preach to me or whatever. Well, yeah, I mean, then why is it such a big deal when they do and it's not stuff that you're into? Like, I guess it doesn't make sense that we're all so attached
Yeah.
to what they're doing if we really understood like where their place was in the world, you know, sort of to your
Yeah.
point, like even the presupposition of like, do they have this obligation because they're really massive and they're this massive brand, it presupposes all this stuff that's like kind of weird to think about, right? Like, are we saying that big corporations need to teach us about morality? You know what I mean? And it's like,
We've had this conversation before. It's like, at what point do we like, because it's like there's both sides are valid in the like, shut up, don't tell me about life when you are like so far removed from it. But at the same time, if you are reaching millions of people, do you have a duty to at least express some version of morality? And it's like, they're like right here. It's such a like hard decision to land on, because I mean, God, all you have to do is look at like most of the country hates Hollywood. Like, and when
right.
celebrities get on their high horse and tell them like who to vote for and what to think, they're like,
shut the fuck up.
fuck you.
Yeah.
Like,
You know,
you
I
guys
just
don't know
thought
what
of
the hell
this.
you're talking about.
I just thought of this kind of interesting comparison. What would you say was a better film or series of films for female empowerment? Number one being the sequel trilogy with Rey, right? And number two being Kill Bill, done by Quentin Tarantino.
I honestly haven't seen Kill Bill since like in like 10 years. No, I've seen it, but I haven't seen it in like 10 years,
Yeah.
maybe even longer than that. Because again, I don't really like that one's like super intense.
Yeah, it's very intense.
It's a little hard for me.
I guess my point is that like you're talking about one director that didn't hold any punches on his character at all, pushed her to the absolute limit, actually pushed her too far, frankly, if some of those stories are true in the second movie. But like pushed her, you know, had her lose her child, had her get shot in the head, had her get raped, had her do, you know, all of these horrible, crazy things. And yet I think most people would tell you that there's more beats a female empowerment, and as a female they get more like out of that movie, then they probably do the sequel trilogy. And in the sequel trilogy, like they handle Rey with kid gloves. They don't give her any big problems. They want her to be this elevated, like perfect thing. And I don't think it does Dickie McGeezax for female empowerment. And the one is like, it's like when Disney tries to think about optics for their character, because frankly, like they did a lot of things. Like it's pretty well documented that they went away from like the Reylo romance because of optics. They didn't want Rey to feel or look as though she needed a man, and also that she would be into somebody that was abusive, right? So because of messaging, they ripped away all these kind of interesting plot points from her character, where like Tarantino was sort of berated for making the movie as violent as it was, and his simple answer was, it's a fucking movie, dude. Like if we're talking about real life, like of course not, like this shit would be horrible, but this is a movie and it's fun, you know what I mean?
You know what, I will say I am picking up what you're putting down, and I do feel like I see the value in both. I'm going to probably lean more towards Kill Bill, because I think real empowerment and real like progression is when like women can be gross. You know, like women can be like true anti-heroes, like real pieces of shit, that character you hate, not just because she's a bitch and she reminds me of your mom and she's the mean girl and she's like fighting with your favorite character. Like a real ass, like piece of shit, like shit happened to her, not cute, not perfect, like, and also doesn't shy away from femininity at the same way, because it's not like they totally like neuter her as a woman in Kill Bill, you know, just like put her in this like fucking like pantsuit
when she meets her daughter at the end, it's beautiful, you know what I mean? And then she actually mourns for Bill after killing him. There's a lot of femininity, like
it's like embracing motherhood and sexuality and like hotness and like, you know, bad parts and negativity. It like, so that's to me real empowerment. At the same time, the thing I like about like Rey in Star Wars is not even acknowledging that she's a woman, you know, like not like, because that's also like representation to me when it's just like, it's because like, you know, like look at this lady doing all these crazy things. It's like she's a main character and she's also a woman, like, you know, and it's like not why. You know, like not justifying it in her journey, like, oh, because it's harder for me this way. So they both had their ways. I like Kill Bill a little bit better, but I also think and also it's hard to say just because like the sequel trilogy was so bad. Like,
it's sort of a hard comparison. I guess my thing is like I feel like these are totally different styles, right? Like Tarantino is not interested in the optics of what you think he's doing to his characters. You know what I mean? And therefore, he's able to, as a creator, take them through entertaining and incredible stories that challenge the character and also challenge us as a viewer. And I think just the total opposite happened with Rey, where it's like, I'm not challenged. And I just didn't feel like there were any challenges that made me root for her, that made me really want to see her overcome, you know, a thing. And
but that was like a failure of the movie overall. Like they didn't do that for any character.
Yeah, pretty much.
You know, so it's like it wasn't just Rey that they like did a major failure on. It was like the whole series wasn't strong enough to carry any of that kind of weight. So it sucks that like in one of like the biggest like major feature films that did franchises that did feature a female lead, that they kind of dropped the ball as a whole with the whole story and character. But yeah, I mean that's what I'm just looking for, normalizing it, like the Hunger Games. I feel like that's like Katniss, because Katniss sucks.
There's opportunity. I think that we'll get more and more chances at it, and you know, more and more cool opportunities. But there's also like, I mean, we've had great female characters in the past. Like I felt like Ripley from Alien was one of the all-time great female characters. Like she's just she's a total badass. You know?
I just hope like the future of female is not the Captain Marvel style, where I felt like literally offended watching that movie. Like it just made me feel like, hey, you
Monica Rambeau,
dumb girl. Is this good enough for you? We're finally doing the girl thing, girl power, stuffing girl power down my throat. And I was like, It's not what I wanted.
Yeah, it's a little gross. It's a little gross. I like Monica Rambeau way more, and she's only like a part of WandaVision, and I'm super glad that the Captain Marvel sequel is now going to be the Marvels and include a lot more of these characters in there, because I just think the more you just focus on Brie and you focus on her like that, you're setting yourself up for some cringe. You know what I mean?
I don't know, because like Brie Larson is charismatic and funny, and
she's an incredible actress.
I think she just kind of got dealt a weird deal, and because she's also so outspoken herself, it just kind of been like these fucking ladies with their blah 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 blah. But like, I don't know. I think given an opportunity, she could have a redemption. But when I watched Captain Marvel, I was like, this is not it.
Yeah, it's not it. Well, luckily with the director change and stuff, there should be some fresh talent behind there. I think that movie's better than I remembered it when I watched it again. It was in the past like 6 or 9 months, and I was like, yeah, no, it's better than I remember. It's not a trash factory, but frankly, I liked her even more even though she's not in it as much. I just like her more in Endgame. You know what I mean? I feel like there's literally just more to her, a little bit more intrigue. I think the outfit's cooler. Her talking about being off world and all this crazy shit. Like, I don't know. The Russos do really great with her. So hopefully they can take her to the next level. I think they need to lean into her bitchiness and make her kind of a little bit more ridiculous,
Just make her bitch. Just do it. I think I feel the same way. I think like I just kind of got like a bad taste in my mouth from like my initial viewing, that it kind of was like, I don't know about this, because like, I just like, I'll never, what is the line that the daughter says to her, like right before, like, I don't know. I can't remember what it was at all, but I just remember like that moment being like, okay, like this is now officially gone too far, because it was like at the end of the movie and it was like a very on the nose, like, girl power remark, and I was like, guys, I don't remember. I was like, subtlety is the name of the game, bro. Like, I already knew this was a female empowerment movie. Why? Because it's all about chicks, bro. You don't need to tell me. I already know, because I'm here watching it. So.
Yo, here's kind of some weird breaking news. The official Disney Plus Twitter account tweeted a little bit ago. Actually, it was a couple hours ago at this point, but they tweeted, "Where are our Coulson stands at?" And they tagged Greg Clark and put the hashtag Loki Wednesdays. I mean, does that mean friggin' Agent Coulson's going to be in friggin' Loki? It would make sense.
Okay, so I actually never watched Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. How did they bring him back to life? Like, how did they really?
So they have like a brain. They literally just kind of recreate his brain using like Kree blood. So like they put some like Kree blood into him, and then they like just rebuild his brain.
And then where'd they get the body?
Oh, it's his body. They put him on ice, like after he gets stabbed.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and then they rebuild the brain.
Yeah, they're calling it like, they call it like Tahiti or whatever. It's like a base that they bring him on. And correct me if I'm wrong here, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. fans.
Yeah, honestly, he's not so important that I need to like care so much about how he comes back, and he's a good time, and I've accepted way more ridiculous premises while I'm reading comics, so fuck it, bring him back. Give me some good laughs. Bring Coulson back. He's a fucking delightful, great time. Like, I'm here for it. Like, I don't need a super big explanation. He's like a side piece, like, a delightful, always wonderful side piece. So fuck it. Yeah, his brain was rebuilt. Whatever.
Throw him in there. I mean,
everyone's like, can they do that for everyone? Just like, shut up. Just like, no. I'm like,
right. Yeah, people are. I know we have
makes
a lot
zero
of
sense.
Fans, and they get mad at me because I talk a lot of shit on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
I know. Every time I like tried to start to watch it, though, like I just couldn't do it.
Yeah, it's not that great. It's not that great.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we're gonna start getting into Q&A here. I'm gonna start going through the super chats. You want to throw in some super chats? All the supers tonight do go to Miss Karen Wood and supporting her and helping us out here. It's the Simp Fund, Simp and Simp Responsibly. I know we had somebody drop a big old Simp chat in right before
Simplings assemble.
Right before I think they had to bail actually too. Let me try to pull this up because last week, remember how it was being all funky?
Yeah, I also love how like simp started out as like an angry incel term, and now it's just like cheeky.
Well, we took it
what
back.
I love to see. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I think the word's awesome. And I simp for a ton of people, man. You know what I mean? Like, I simp
they're
for
like,
dogs.
oh, you're nice to a girl, simp, and like just incels like raging on the internet, and everyone's
it was. I mean, even that was kind of funny to me too, though, because like there was a phase where like, basically like ironically or unironically, people would be like, oh, what you tell a girl hello in the morning, simp, and then like anything you do nice is like simp. Oh, what, you don't degrade women as soon as you see them, simp, you know, and shit like that. So
believe me, my roommate, like she has like an OnlyFans and stuff like that, and anytime a guy's like ever just says like, oh girl, you like, that was really funny, the simp, like she just like exposes her, does anything nice to her, and they're like, any just simp attack, and you're like, so nice, simp. Okay,
that is what it is. I mean, yeah, it is what it is. But that's why we love our
OnlyFans, Chelsea McGee.
Chelsea McGee. We'll check it out later. According to the Sokovian with the $2 holler, says, hi, Darren, please Discord stage with us. It would be fun. Yeah, you should get into one of them stages sometime.
When's the next one? You did one today, right?
I did do one today, just blabbering about crypto. Honestly,
I should have gone into it because I'm trying to learn more because you know, my boyfriend's like a stonk daddy. Like he's like that stuff, and like every time he tries to explain it to me, I'm always like it hurts. It hurts.
Yeah, it's I mean,
finance is hard.
It was fun. It's a little hard. I'm like obsessed with it. I find it to be pretty interesting.
Well, it just takes like like that's what I need. In order for me to understand it, I need like hyper focus and conversation about it. So I actually do think like conversations in that realm are like the best way to learn. Because that's always when I finally get it. I'm like, yes, okay, perfect, understand. True. But when you're like reading something about it, you're like, what?
Yeah, that's 100% the thing. For me, it's like I put on a lot of podcasts and like just kind of I hear the same thing kind of over and over with it because it took me a while to like figure it out. You know what I mean? It really did. Sheev the Wise, the $2 holler.
I fell asleep during the stage at one point.
Wait, what? Who said that?
Patrick Ray.
Patrick Ray, you're banned forever. Okay. I'm just playing. Sheev the Wise says,
yeah, join a stage. It'd be really fun. Sorry, just kidding. No, you should. Join a stage would be really fun, they said. Falls asleep.
Right. You mother trucker.
What does Sheev the Wise say? What's up?
Well, he said send some love to the EPs and the simps, which is very sweet of him. Dr. Cool says, will Marvel buy us dinner before they throw another boner in our face? Take my money. Man, I would hope so.
No, they'll just gaslight us and tell us that was... That's more, we'll probably just be gaslit into thinking that's what we wanted the whole time.
Yeah, they'll be like, we did this boner for representation's sake. The next boner is going to be of a different race. All right.
I don't know why that tickled me so
much. King Cow 516G with a $5 holla. No message in there, though. Oh, it looks like he put it back up here. He says Kang in Ant-Man 3 makes sense if they use it to connect or introduce the Fantastic Four. What do you think about that? Connected to the Fantastic Four?
Because he's Reed Richards' descendant, right?
Yes, that is pretty much the guarantee. Yeah, it's never like confirmed. I think in the comics, but he does have the last name. I think it
was confirmed in like a recent comic.
Oh, okay, cool.
Down the line.
Well, I know people like always said it, and it was like totally a thing, but it was never like fully confirmed. You know what I mean? But
who said his last name was Richards first? Like, what a troll, right? Like, last name's Richards, and they're like, "Is it Reed Richards' son?" They're like, I don't know.
I don't know. That's how comic book writers are, though. They're like, he. I know something you don't. Friggin' buttholes. Krim says Nebula in all caps. I think he was talking about the anti-heroes when we were going on.
Oh, fuck. You're totally right. Honestly, shout out to Nebula. I really like her. I was like, very
she's an
surprised.
Anti-hero. She's cool.
Like that chick, okay.
Karen Gillan.
How do I say this without sounding mean?
You don't think she's that hot?
Okay, it's a little bit what I was going to say.
Actually do think she's super hot. So
no, but like she is hot, right? But she doesn't.
She's like, yeah.
But she doesn't seem like a standout in the crowd kind of person. Whether not even just in looks, like she just seems like your average Joe. But like she is so fucking not, dude. Like she is funny. She is like charismatic. She's got depth. She's got range. Like that bitch is it. And I love to see it. And man, maybe I shouldn't have said that. Was mean. That was like, why did I even say that?
No. I mean, I kind of get what you're saying. She's like not as, I guess you could say, maybe atypically attractive or
But she
like.
is hot. But like,
Well, she definitely is, but she's got her own kind of quirky hotness thing going on. I mean, I think she's awesome, man. I've seen a lot of her
I
like
think
little videos on Insta. She did a couple like during the pandy that were really fun.
I think what I'm trying to say is like she's the person you might overlook at first glance, but then if you like took 2 seconds, like she would be the most captivating person in the room. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. She's great, and I hope she gets even more work with this character because she's really great at Nebula. Actually, the transformation's incredible
so
if you look
good.
at her.
Who knew I was gonna like be that interested in Nebula? But like that bitch is
right?
it. She is the bitch. I'm like,
she really ties Endgame together in a really good way for sure,
dude. For sure, show stealer.
Big Stevie with the very generous $50 holler says, before this boomer falls asleep, I just want to say, have a safe flight, Darren. Take my simp money. Yeah, have a safe flight, dude. Because she's going to Jamaica, guys. She's going to Jamaica.
I am going to Jamaica with me wife. Yeah,
gonna have a good time.
Spend some quality time together before we stop living together for the first time in 5 years.
It's gonna be sad. It's gonna be sad, but hey, the OnlyFans content's probably gonna go up in value. Mike Porter with the $5 holler says, that was a bad joke. Look, Darren and Josh, I just survived heart surgery. What say goes? What I say
Mike
goes.
Porter?
MC rules. Yes.
Holy shit, dude! How are you, man?
Like, I know. Yeah, he had open heart surgery on Monday, I think. So it's great that he's able to type and get back in here, man. Mike, we love you.
I'm so happy. Oh my god, I'm so happy to hear that you're doing okay and that you're back on the streams and going strong. Shout out everyone! Just give quick love to
put some hearts in the chat. Yeah, put some hearts in the chat for Mike Mother Flipper Porter. Mike, we love you, brother. Felicity says,
feel bad about my Carrot Gillen concert comment.
Yeah, you ruined. You were really mean, and I'm gonna talk nasty on you on Twitter and my sock puppet accounts.
I feel bad about
it. Felicity says Feige is in the position where he is serving three masters: Disney shareholder, progressives on Twitter, and China. The facade is starting to slip. So, Felicity, I don't know if I fully agree, but I will say he is definitely trying to. He's trying to appeal to his bosses. And he's definitely trying to appeal to China, but only because that's what appeals to his bosses, right? So I actually don't know how much he cares about the Twitter crowd. I hope it's not as deep as you're making it out.
Who are the three masters? Disney
shareholders, progressives on Twitter, and China. And
I don't think he's serving the progressives on Twitter as
hope not
much. I think he's kind of like I just think he's like a little bit of a genius in PR in that way, where he knows kind of like what to say at a certain time to like get the right reaction.
Well, I think he also knows, like, to a degree, maybe he knows that like most Hollywood leans left, and there's a lot of like left leaning ideologies that are very big out there. And honestly, like in Hollywood, if you're gonna go one direction, I mean, like left does inherently make more sense. It's like even. It just is what it is. So I don't know if it's that deep. I do see the concerns, and Felicity is one of those people that is certainly concerned about these particular type of issues. But Felicity, I'm just still holding out hope in Feige.
I mean, he obviously is going to serve it a little bit, because it's like if Kevin Feige is anything, he knows how to like keep his finger on the pulse, and he stays hip to the times. So I would say that's probably true in a way, where it's like the public is always going to be a concern for him. Like.
Agreed. Yeah, I mean, it has to be in a sense, right? I mean, he has these questions. I'm sure he even knows somewhat what these questions will be before they're asked.
Yeah.
But, Felicity follows up with, if the most interesting thing about your character is their sex, color, creed, or sexual orientation, then you have no character. Well, you have a shitty character, I would argue. But yeah, I mean, I agree. I think it's just weird if those things are something that your character really holds. You know, maybe the character can hold them dear, but it can't be the most interesting thing about them. Like that's just, and I think
for sure. But I do think there are elements of like telling a story that is specific to an experience that I really enjoy. Mm-hmm. Like regardless if it's an experience that I identify with. So if they are leaning hard into one thing to tell like a specific cultural or, you know, identity story, then I'm like all about it. But yeah, it can't just be like, this is who I am.
Yeah, I think all the time it's funny because there's great like perspectives and racial perspectives that I fully appreciate and think are awesome. But the funny thing is most like progressive television is actually just done by a bunch of white people that think they know what the fuck they're talking about, and it never quite hits the same. So, like, as an example, Aziz Ansari in one of his shows, it was one of his Netflix shows, like there's this moment where his dad says he's watching like Indian television, and it's like they have all the American shows, but like with Indians, and he's like, his dad literally says like, all Indians, no whites. And it was so funny because it was so honest of like what an old Indian man would say, and like white people need to hear that shit and understand that and see it. And it reminds me of some of the stuff that's like in the Boondocks, which like it really cuts in like a very real way. But then you get like the Disneyfied version of it, or like the white people version of it, and it's just it's like it's just not that good. You know what I mean? It doesn't.
White people can be a little don't even realize how tribal they are in the way that like other races are, because like when it comes to like tribalism and like racial groups, like it's a real thing. Like, you know, the groups like to stick together, and I don't think that white people realize they're doing it as much as they're doing it.
Oh, for sure not. I think that's sort of what the whole sort of cultural awakening movement of the past couple of years is all about, is like, it's like that Black Panther joke where people were coming out of the theater and saying like, man, there's so many black people in the credits. This must be what white people feel like all the time. You know what I mean? And it's a little bit like that, you know, but to be fair, like, I think a lot of folks that are, you know, white just don't think about it that way though.
Because they don't really have to, right? They don't have to view it as like a tribalism thing, or like, oh, you guys are all grouping together, because it's like they are the group, you know?
No, I know, which is I know, and there's there's a whole bunch of things. It's funny, like I joke about this sometimes with people where I'm like, man, like we need to get to the point where we can start talking about our people a little bit, you know what I mean? Because it's like we can't even get to that point, I feel like sometimes, because there's some issues there, but
I feel like we're on our way.
We're getting there.
It's gonna be okay, guys.
It's gonna be fine. Trev says with a $5 holler, Jet Li in Romeo Must Die, opposite of Aaliyah in like 20 years ago. Wasn't that a fairly successful movie? I'm not sure what you are referring to. I think
it was like a really campy vampire movie with Aaliyah in it that I've never seen.
I don't know if Romeo Must Die was a successful movie at all, dude. I really don't think it was.
Sorry, deep cut. Can't relate.
It made 91 million.
Do you? Okay.
I don't know. I mean, that's okay, I guess. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what he's saying. I think he's maybe saying that like there were Asian male lead.
Asian male like romantic lead. Yeah, but guys, like, okay, just because there was one Asian male romantic lead in a movie, like, don't get it twisted. Like, you can just look up any statistics. Like, Asian men are the most like rejected people on any dating app. Like,
it's black women and Asian men are the least likely to be matched to, and some of that is from societal.
So it's like, I love that there's like a black woman Asian male lead in this movie, but it's like, it's not like it. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I mean that's. Yeah, there was one. Good job.
Plus one.
Naman says, I think the story should be developed with intention to show the struggle your character goes through in a realistic way. Yeah, I mean, certainly. Look, there are different ways to tell stories for sure. And there are deconstructive stories, there are postmodern stories, and then there are more mythical stories, you know. But I think at the core, what makes a story is character. You know what I mean? And so like you have to have a compelling character, period, the end. And there are all sorts of tried and true ways to get there. But one of the most tried and true is putting them through a bunch of crap so that we feel bad for them and we want them to win. And then they ultimately do end up winning. Like literally every Rocky movie is the same. He's not going to fight. He's not going to take the fight. Something, you know, he's getting shit on. Life sucks. And then he gets to the point where he has to take the fight again. He's going to fight his way out of it. It's the same thing every time. If he just was winning or whatever, or came in winning, it's there's no character there. You know what I mean?
I got a question though, like kind of talking about like what we are getting into earlier and whatnot, where it's just like, oh my God, I just lost my train of thought. It happened right in this moment. Okay, next question.
It happens.
I'm going to remember.
It happens. Yeah, it's all it happens. Yep.
Okay, just kidding.
Nice. Let's see here. Trev says Captain Marvel was a DC movie in the MCU. A little bit. I would say a DC movie.
I remembered
or like
Wait,
Phase
pause
1
that
Marvel movie?
question
Yeah,
before
yeah.
I
Go, go,
forget
go.
it. If Marvel was denying scripts because they're not good diversity or there's not enough diversity, to me, a good story is a good story regardless. It doesn't matter who's in it, who the character is, like what they look like, what their gender is, what their race is, what their orientation is. So it's like if it's not enough diversity, just put a different person in there. What's the issue? So it's like, I guess I'm a little confused on that point, right? It's like,
Wait, what's the point? I'm sorry, I zoned out for a second.
First, I lose my train of thought, then you zone out. God, we gotta like we're trying to keep it fresh here, bro. I'm saying it's just like a good story. Like as you're saying, a good story is a good story. When it comes to good character storytelling, we know it when we see it and we feel it when we feel it, right? Like you can't fake it. A good character story is a good character story. So if they're rejecting scripts because there's not enough diversity in it, like why don't they just like change the diversity of the casting?
Oh, I know. Well, I mean, there's so much that goes into that where like I've heard writers say, and I don't fully agree with this, but I've heard writers say before that like all you got to do is just write a great character and then you can literally just change the sex and all of a sudden it's a well-written female character. In some ways there is some truth to that. You know what I mean? Like where it's
That's
like
what I'm
the
like
aspect,
getting
yeah, for sure. The aspects of the character that made it that could just be translated into a new character and then you adjust and make other things. I totally agree. And ultimately it's just weird what happens with writers and stuff sometimes these days, you know, like I don't fully get what's
like,
going on in their
no,
heads.
He
And
has to be a white dude or the story is completely done. If he's not a
right,
white
this
man,
story has to be for a white guy,
or else it's
but
just not good anymore.
We can't flip it and make it for someone else of a different race. If we do that, we have to rebuild it from the ground up and call it Shang-Chi.
The entire story falls apart. Yeah, just doesn't make any sense anymore.
It doesn't make sense. Okay, let's see here. Daniel Fisher with a very generous $20 holla says, once again, some great combo / takes tonight. Coulson, stand right here. Have a safe flight, Darren. Simp responsibly and take my money. Oh, it's very, very sweet. Oh, and then Mr. Anderson, king of the simps himself.
My simp lord.
With a $100 donation.
Oh,
Holy
my
shit.
simperer.
He says, check this out. He says, I tried to fight the simptation, but nobody out simps Superior Anderson. God damn, yo. We're definitely putting a bust up in the vault for this man.
Simptation. Okay, so what really tickles me in the Discord is simp puns. So he knows what I like. He knows what I like.
There you go. Yeah, man.
He knows
how
to simp me. It doesn't work without.
He knows that he's simptation. Yeah. Anyway, thank you very much, Mr. Anderson. We both love you, and I know that Darren loves you for sure. According to the Sokovian with a $2 hollow says, I'd marry Karen Gillan 100%. My dream woman. Yeah, she's so cool, man. She's really cool. She is beautiful. I
mean, anyone in a Hollywood movie is objectively beautiful. I guess it's like,
yeah, for sure.
That's why I was like, Tim, like, I was just walking it back. I'm like, I feel like I just feel bad.
I felt what you were saying, though. I would say, like, maybe she's not like what you would say, like, is just atypically beautiful or like stereotypically beautiful or whatever.
I guess, what I was trying to say, like a Megan Fox kind of.
Or like your gal, Angelina, right? Like, just like like the crazy, like the eyes that draw you in, the bone structure that's wide and pronounced, you know what I mean, with the fair skin, like like it's standard, stuff or whatever. And she's different, softer features, less pronounced. She's a little bit taller, I see what you're saying.
I mean, talking about Alex, she's objectively, everyone in a Hollywood movie is objectively hot, which is also a thing.
Steve Buscemi is objectively not hot.
Steve Buscemi is like handsome in his own way too. That's why it's like always funny to me when like people talk about actors or like models or any kind of public figure and they're like, oh, they're like just like not my type or they're not my style. I'm like, bitch, if they approached you in a bar, like you would just shut the fuck up. Like
dude,
they're like,
I mean, I don't know about all that. For me. If Buscemi came up to me in a bar and he was hitting on me like real deep, I'd be like, yo, man, it's cool that you're here and you're Buscemi, but you're not my type. And even if you were my type, your crazy eyes, I can't deal.
I've heard that Buscemi, like because he's been cast as like the crazy looking guy, that's like his typecast. But if you meet him in person, he's pretty like normal.
Normal?
I've heard that.
I'd be disappointed. That would be more disappointing, frankly. Do you know what I mean? I'd be like, the fuck is going on here, bro? Get those crazy eyes on, man. I don't want to. I didn't. It's like showing up to see Van Halen and they're doing like Beatles covers. That's not it. That's not
It's like,
why I'm
haven't
here.
you ever like had those friends that like say like someone like who's a big celebrity, Ariana Grande? They're like, yeah, she's not that hot though. And you're like, I mean, just objective.
Yeah, I've seen people right. I've seen people make those kind of calls, and it's like, no, you're dumb.
Or on their
like,
comment section, they're like, her body's not even that cool. You're like, you would die to have it. Be quiet.
Right? Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Stop.
For sure. Let's see here. Stevie said, "Oh, Karen Gillan for Mara Jade and Bust." Oh, I see what you did there. Friggin' Naaman says Emma Watson as Rogue. Oh, what do you think about that? Emma Watson as Rogue? She's too tiny, isn't she? She's too tiny. She's too dainty for Rogue, I think.
Emma Watson as Rogue. No, I want someone spicier.
Yeah, I agree. I think I need someone bulky.
I want someone with like a big personality that's like spicy and like in your face. And like, come on, sugar. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't like Emma Watson's like, I don't know if she can play that, but to me, she's like very like refined, classy, you know, that kind of lady. I don't want classy. I want spicy fire.
Yeah, that's fair. That's totally fair. I can see it. Let's see here. Big Stevie says, honeymooned in Jamaica. Loved it. That's pretty dope. I've never been. I've heard it's pretty fun, though.
Oh, yeah. This will be my first time. So.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, man. Have yourself a good time, man. One of my good friends in college, his mother was Jamaican and his father was Scottish. And he called himself this, so we were allowed to call him it, okay? But he called himself Jafakin. Is the word, because it's not quite
like a fake
Jamaican. Yeah, he's like, yeah. Anyway,
I always love the lead in. I'm allowed to say this.
I'm allowed to say this, everybody. I'm one of those white people. No, but dude, his mom's accent, amazing, bro. Like, it was just such a treat to be over at his house, and she would order Alex around too. If he might even be watching. He's probably super embarrassed.
Stop,
anyway,
Alex.
Nikki Solo says, how relevant will Vision be going forward? I think that's a fair question. What do you think's going on with Vision, man? White Vision just bails, right? He went out for cigarettes and he seemingly never came back. So what's the deal with White Vision?
Depends what they want to do with the Avengers, man. If they're trying to like kind of disband them and start a new thing, then I don't really see him being that much more relevant if it's not specifically aligned to Wanda. Because I think that's where most of the relevance will come into play, and like the fact that he's White Vision will have the most like interesting narrative tension with her. But like all of his friends are gone.
Yeah, I'm interested in what he could be doing as well. How's he not just going to come back to Wanda? Like, essentially, like, how can he not? Like, if he has all those memories and stuff, and he's just going out there. I mean,
like, Iron Man's gone, Captain America's gone, Hulk's going to be a philosopher or whatever he's doing with his glasses, you know. Thor's
man, life is strange.
He's like, I'm never coming back. Or he's with the Guardians of the Galaxy, like all his friends are gone.
Yep. It's a weird one, man. It's a weird one.
Like, I got a family, leave me alone.
Yeah, for sure. Let's see here. They say sorry for whitewashing Vision.
Yeah, they're like, oh, we shouldn't have made him a white man. They should have just made him so. They got to just make him like blue.
You know, it would have been great if whoever the interviewer was when Feige hit him with the white man thing with Doctor Strange, they literally should have just been like, well, then why the fuck did you do that with Vision, bro? Like, that would have been amazing. That would have been amazing to see.
Although I do feel like it's like kind of similar to like the ignorant comments that people make when they're like, you know, I've definitely like heard for like, you know, black cosplayers that they're like, oh, why is it okay to like, you know, dress up as someone with like blue or green skin and not like dress up in like blackface for this one character? And it's like, it's not that hard, guys. Figure it out. It's called, that's an alien, not real person. And there's like cultural reasons that are from our exact time.
Look, there are just rules. I don't know what else to fucking tell you. Like, there's just rules, dude.
Why can I do this? And you're like, just it's because you can't. Just figure it out, bro.
You just can't. You just can't, man. I don't know what to tell you. There's just rules. You know what I mean?
That person doesn't exist, so that's why you can dress up like that.
Yeah. No, it's like, dude, look, you can do that shit if you want to go out and get your ass kicked. You know, like feel
yeah,
free
for
to,
sure. Yeah,
free.
live your truth. Just see
Live
what
your
happens.
truth, man. Yeah. Shit. All right. Well, I don't know. I feel like we should wind down, maybe get out of here before it gets too wild. Anything you want to plug before you get out of here? I know we'll be back at it next week.
We will be back at it next week. Everything is always just my name, Darren Wood. You know, DARYN WOOD. Check it out. Just Google me. I don't know.
This is a good idea. Fanjexture says we need a do and don't for cosplay video from Darren. That would be pretty fantastic, actually.
Do and don't cosplay.
That'd be good. According to Sokovian, says who would Aubrey Plaza play in the MCU?
Lamau.
I don't know. I like Aubrey Plaza a lot. I can't think offhand of who I would want her to play, though.
I mean, she was some character in Legion that worked for her.
She was amazing in Legion.
Yeah,
she was amazing. Yeah, she was so good in that show for sure.
So I can't really think of a specific character that I would want her to be, but I do like Aubrey Plaza. She's endlessly entertaining to watch. What a creature!
Yeah, she's fantastic.
No one else like her.
She just got married. Too. Randomly.
Oh, congrats, Aubrey Plaza! She's so beautiful.
Know, right? She is. All right, everybody, we're going to get on out of here. Thank you all so much for the support. Again, I wish you well on your flight. I hope Jamaica treats you well, Darren. Get some R&R over there with the roomie. Have some good times, and then we'll be back at it next week, okay?
All right. Have a good night, everybody.
Have a good night, everyone. As I always say, I hope you're having an awesome
and nerdy day.
And we'll see you in the next video.